Hi, Wildcatters. I'm Josh Adler, the founding CEO of Sourcewater in Houston, Texas. And today I'm going to give you a very quick tour of a few of the capabilities in our WaterMap oil field intelligence platform. First, a little about us. Sourcewater's mission is to provide holistic energy intelligence to the upstream industry. We gather, analyze, and visualize omnichannel data in the industry's best geospatial mapping platform to show upstream energy and water activity on the surface and in the subsurface earlier, more completely, and more accurately than any other source. We've had 13 U.S. patents granted so far, with a whole bunch more pending. One of the things that really sets us apart is the broad range of data sources that we draw from. On the right side here is the cool stuff. We've been pioneering the use of satellite imagery and mobile GPS data to map oil field development and supply chain activity earlier and more completely than any other source. There are a lot of different ways that different kinds of companies use our platform. Top users include water midstream, disposal, and recycling companies, operators big and small, mineral investors, every kind of OFS company, geoscientists, and energy investors and analysts. But today we're only going to have time to touch on a few of these cases. First, we'll look at how water midstream, disposal, and recycling companies use our WaterMap platform to find more water business from operators, and touch on how operators use some of the same tools to find cost savings in their operations. Then we'll give you a peek at how mineral investors and oilfield services companies use our DirtWork Alert satellite analytics service to see new drilling plans on the ground before permits or rigs, and avoid chasing permits that might never get drilled. Finally, we'll show you how our unique subsurface insights combining 3D geologic fault line maps, seismic activity, and true depths and formations of injection help geoscientists analyze induced seismicity risk for their company's disposal assets and their vendors' assets. One of the unique capabilities of Sourcewater's WaterMap is that we map the monthly flows of produced water from every producing lease to every disposal lease in Texas. If you're a water midstream, disposal, treatment, or logistics company, this mapping is super important because the main cost driver in water management is distance. So if you see a lease that's sending water a long way to your competitor, sending it past you or further than your facility, you know there's probably a great opportunity to offer that operator a better deal on disposal or recycling. So here we see our data coverage for the whole country. Let's zoom in on Martin County, Texas. So now I'm selecting all the producing wells in Martin County, and I'm also turning on water midstream infrastructure. Now I'm seeing the last few years of production and injection in Martin for all oil, gas, and water. I'm going to open up the water transfer tab right in the middle here. So on the left, we're seeing the total amount of water produced and disposed over the past year for Martin County. On the right side, you're seeing the inbound water volumes highlighted by disposal owner. Now, let's say I want to see who my disposal competitor is doing business with in this county. So I select Solaris from this list. Looks like they've got just one disposal lease in this county called Robertson Rojo. So as soon as I select this disposal, you see all the analytics come up. On the left side, you're seeing the volume chart. How much water is this disposal receiving every month for the time period selected? Now I can switch to the flow diagram. This water flow chart shows exactly which operator leases are sending water to that disposal, including the volumes. So we can see that XTO is the dominant customer sending water to Solaris in this county, and those big volumes from those leases are probably going in a pipeline. But it's also interesting to see that all these smaller amounts are coming from companies like Diamondback, Callan, Pioneer. Those had to be in trucks. So if I'm a competitor, I know that those are leases where I might be able to pick off some barrels or offer a pipeline deal. Now take a look at the top part of the screen. This is what we call a spider chart. It shows exactly where every barrel of water is coming from and going to for each producing lease and each disposal lease. You can also skim over time for each relationship and see how much water is going every month and the trend for that flow. Now let's switch to looking at the outbound water from a producing lease. Let's pick the Nail Ranch lease. Looks like Crown Quest is sending almost all their water to SWDs that they own themselves. That might be a good opportunity to make a dedication deal. Everything you're seeing here can be exported and downloaded and analyzed in your own GIS system. Now let's take a look at one of our other top products, which we call DirtWork Alert. Mineral investors and oilfield services companies of all kinds, not just water companies, use this to see oil and gas drilling plans ahead of permits and rigs. And they avoid chasing permits that might never get drilled or not for a long time, so they can focus their efforts on the deals that are most likely to pay off. First, I'm turning on the DirtWork Alert satellite intelligence layer in WaterMap. Here's a view of all the well pads detected in the Permian Basin, these purple dots. In this case, we want to see any new activity that hasn't shown up in permits yet. So let's pick a date range since December 2020, which was 3 months ago. And I'm going to limit our search only to first observations. These purple squares popping up are all the new well pads. Here you can see a list of all the results and export them. Let's pick Lee County, New Mexico. Let's pick one. Let's pick one at random. Advanced Energy Partners, Hat Mesa. Nice new pad. Nice frac pond there. Looks like a recycling pond too. Let's see if there's a permit for this pad yet. I'm turning on the New Mexico wells layer to compare the pads to the permits. And let's zoom back to that pad we were just looking at. No approved drilling permit in the past year for this pad that showed up a month ago. This looks like a case where we just spotted new drilling plans in advance of any permit filing. That happens about 1/3 of the time with new pads. Now, let's just make double sure that this isn't an old pad that's been sitting there for a while. We can run a tool we call DirtWork Alert Time Machine to instantly generate a slideshow of the history of this exact spot over the last few years. One of the reasons that mineral investors and oilfield services companies really like the Time Machine is that it shows you the roads, rights-of-way, and pipelines getting built to the pad. The status of that infrastructure gives you some great insight into the timing of the well development and production. There we go. There's that new pad getting built right when the machine said it was built. You can also see the water action around this pad. So you can see how the pits were empty and then they all got filled up. Also, you can see the dark lining on the recycling pit compared to the lighter shade on the freshwater pit. We automatically detect and classify all the water pits, so we can alert for those just like we alert for well pads. We found that new frac pits filling with water are highly predictive statistically of upcoming completions activity. You might have heard that in some shale plays there are concerns about excess saltwater disposal inducing seismicity. The Texas Railroad Commission now flags any disposal or permit that meets their criteria for seismic review. We've built a system that combines all the data needed to automate that seismic review analysis. These data can be combined to assess the seismic risk of any existing or proposed saltwater disposal. And you can instantly generate all the data you need to prepare and file the next permit and avoid or dispute any seismic review. I've selected Permian geologic fault lines and TexNet and USGS daily seismic activity nationwide. Those red squiggles are the fault lines. We've mapped more than 1,500 of them in 3D, identifying every intersecting formation and providing the source citations for each fault. This NGL disposal looks like it's sitting right on top of a fault line. But if you look closely, there's good evidence here to dispute the review. That's because the true formation of injection is different from the formation that the fault line intersects in this spot. But you can't get the true formation of injection from the permit. That's because on a permit, you almost always ask for the biggest interval you can get approved. It's almost always a much smaller active perforated interval, and you have to know that true active interval to measure the risk and performance of the well. We've analyzed literally hundreds of thousands of completion records and well logs to identify the true interval and formation of injection for every disposal in the Permian. Thanks, Wildcatters, for joining us for our demo video. Visit sourcewater.com to request a meeting or send an email to me, Josh, at sourcewater.com.